Turkey launches airstrikes and begins a ground offensive against Kurdish fighters in northern Syria. The offensive comes after Donald Trump announced that US troops would pull back from the area. 35 long minutes of camera footage posted on a live streaming site by a shooter who killed 2 people in the German city of Halle. Authorities say the rampage carried out by a lone attacker was anti-Semitic. So coming up this hour on France 24, a first for Iran in decades. Thousands of women have been permitted to buy tickets to a World Cup qualifier match in the capital. While this is a step forward for the Islamic Republic, the country still has a long way to go until that ban is fully lifted. Well, those are our top stories this hour on France 24. I'm Sanam Chantier. Thank you for watching. Well, we start with our top story this Thursday. A day earlier, Turkish forces began moving into Syria in an offensive against US-backed Kurdish forces. This in a series of aerial and artillery bombardment, followed by a ground push, sending thousands of civilians fleeing their homes. Now, dozens of Kurdish fighters and local residents have been killed. The move comes after the US president's decision to withdraw troops from northern Syria. Donald Trump earlier defending his position, saying the Kurds didn't fight alongside the US in the Second World War.
More Turkish tanks head towards the Syrian border after Ankara launched a ground offensive against Kurdish militants. Posting this footage on Twitter, the Turkish Defense Ministry said,
"Our heroic commandos who are participating in Operation Peace Spring continue to advance into areas east of the Euphrates River in northern Syria."
The army says it hit more than 180 militant targets with airstrikes and artillery fire on the first day of its military campaign. Amid mounting international condemnation, Ankara insists it has the right to self-defense and that it's acting within the framework of international law. Turkish ground forces entered northern Syria at 4 locations between the towns of Tal Abyad and Ras Al Ain, following airstrikes on both. Ankara's aim is to create a 30-kilometre wide safe zone along the border, stretching from the Euphrates River all the way to Iraq. Turkey wants to use the buffer zone to resettle 2 million Syrian refugees, but says it needs to clear the area of Kurdish militants, whom it considers terrorists. The swift military offensive has left little time for residents in the area to flee. Many have left their homes with only a few belongings. Some even ran away on foot.
They should have told us to leave or got us out beforehand. If they'd informed us and found us a house to rent, we would have moved there.
Turkey's offensive came just days after US President Donald Trump abruptly pulled American troops out of northern Syria on Sunday. The decision was seen as abandoning the Kurds, who spearheaded the Syrian Democratic Forces, key US allies in the fight against the Islamic State group.
Yuka Royer there reporting. Now, as that incursion continues, reactions have been pouring in from across the globe. One of the strongest comments coming from the European Commission. Jean-Claude Juncker urged Turkey on Wednesday to show restraint and stop its military operation, adding that the EU will not pay for a safe zone. Sam Brad-Peace brings us up to speed.
As the bombs of Operation Peace Spring begin to fall in northern Syria, many actors within the international community are already urging restraint.
It is important to avoid actions that may further destabilize the region, escalate tensions, and cause more human suffering. We must not jeopardize the gains we have made together against our common enemy, ISIS.
Meanwhile, the European Union's foreign policy chief went one step further.
We call upon Turkey to immediately stop its unilateral military action.
But speaking on loudspeaker to his military command, Erdogan remains resolute.
We will crush the terror corridor and, God willing, build a peace corridor.
Of course, these first steps of the Turkish invasion have not been possible without US withdrawal from northern Syria, a move that Donald Trump stands by.
We're getting out of the endless wars. We have to do it. and eventually somebody was going to have to make the decision. I feel that we are doing the right thing, and I think the country feels that too.
As Syrians took to the streets to voice their opposition to Turkey's operation, diplomats announced that the UN Security Council will meet Thursday to discuss Erdogan's actions.
Staying with that story, serious doubts have been raised over the fate of Islamic State detainees in Kurdish-run prisons. According to some reports, the Kurds did not leave their positions guarding the prisoners overnight. In fact, they even prevented a prison break. James Vecina has more.
This footage was filmed in March. Members of the Syrian Democratic Forces, most of whom are Kurds, stop and search a group of suspected fighters of the Islamic State group. The men are sent to a Kurdish prison, while the women and children are held in camps. Al-Hol is the biggest of 3 camps in Kurdish Syria, used to contain suspected Islamic State members and their families. Together with Al-Roj in the north and Ain Issa in the west, the sites are located in the area that Turkey is seeking to occupy. But as Ankara launches an offensive against the Kurds, monitoring of these camps has become secondary, as fighters are sent to the front line to fight the Turkish military, reducing the number of forces in charge of patrolling the sites. Some 70,000 locals are currently under Kurdish control in the camps, as well as 10,000 foreign women and children. While the prisons contain an estimated 10,000 local jihadis, as well as 2,000 foreign fighters. The shift on the ground has prompted the Red Cross to urge Western states to repatriate their citizens.
Our message to all states who have citizens in those camps to take responsibility. The status quo cannot be, it's not an option. If you look at all the population in this camp, the situation of the Westerners is probably the easiest one to solve.
Only a few weeks ago, the so-called caliphate of the Islamic State group, al-Baghdadi, called on his followers to liberate the jihadis held captive in the camps.
Now let's cross to the Turkish border with Syria, where our reporter Shona Bhattacharya is standing by. Shona, what's the latest on the ground where you are?
Well, the Operation Peace Spring, as the Turks are calling it, is continuing. Behind me, just a few hundred meters away, is the Syrian border, and a little bit further behind that is Tal Abyad, one of the targets of this Turkish operation in northeastern Syria. We have seen convoys moving across the border, Turkish convoys going east of Tal Abyad, deeper into northeastern Syria. The Turks so far are saying that the operation is a success, that they have captured targets, that they have been successful in their air raids and in their on-ground operation. That, of course, is contested by the representatives of the Kurdish commandos at the Syrian Defense Force. In fact, forces from the SDF did strike back, hitting at least one local target, a school along the border here in southeastern Turkey. These schools now are closed for the residents, and the situation here in this immediate region has been placed under high alert by Turkish authorities.
And high alert, Shona, let's now talk about the civilian cost here. We've been seeing endless images of Kurdish residents fleeing on foot in cars with few belongings on their back, reports of dozens killed.
That's right. Some people are calling this another Kobani situation with thousands of residents fleeing. For now, those civilians themselves don't know where to go. Of course, it's out of the question for them to cross over into Turkey, but they are likely fleeing to other places in Syria. There are unconfirmed reports, for example, of civilians fleeing to a U.S. Army base near a Lafarge factory. Those reports are waiting to be confirmed, but it seems that the part of the whole panic of these civilians in this region is that they just don't know who to turn to at the moment.
Of course, civilians, as always, caught in the crossfire. Shona Bhattacharya reporting for us from Akshakala. Now to an attack on the eastern city of Halle on Wednesday, which left 2 people dead. A synagogue and a Turkish restaurant were the targets in what authorities have called an anti-Semitic onslaught. The suspected gunman, reportedly a 27-year-old German who acted alone, broadcast his rampage on a live streaming platform. France 24's Shirley Sitbon has the story.
Berlin, Wednesday night. Angela Merkel mourns outside one of the capital's synagogues, the attack that hit a synagogue in the eastern city of Halle hours earlier.
My goal, and that of the politicians, is to do everything possible to ensure that you can live in safety. And this day shows us that this is not enough, that we must do even more.
The attack was carried out on the holiest day for Jews, Yom Kippur. Yet according to the local community, no police patrolled outside the synagogue.
We've said several times that we wish, just like in big cities like Berlin, Munich or Frankfurt, for our synagogue and our Jewish community in Saxony-Anhalt to have police protection. But we were always told that everything's fine, everything's okay, that everything's quiet.
The killer tried repeatedly to access the synagogue using several weapons, including homemade bombs and a Molotov cocktail. It's the solidity of the building's doors that saved the dozens of worshippers holed up inside. After failing to enter, he shot and killed a woman on the street. He then killed a man at point-blank range at a nearby kebab shop. The attacker, believed to be a far-right extremist, said he was a Holocaust denier. He live-streamed the attack for about 35 minutes, accusing Jews of being at the root of all Western society's problems, citing feminism and mass migration. Police arrested him after an exchange of fire.
Now to a landmark moment for Iran. This Thursday in a World Cup qualifier against Cambodia, women will be able to officially enter the football stadium. Last year, authorities handpicked several hundred women to enter an Asian Champions League match in the capital. But this time around, women were free to buy tickets to the match. The move comes after FIFA threatened to suspend the Islamic Republic over its controversial male-only policy. There's also been global outrage over the death of a female football fan who was detained for dressing as a man to sneak into a football stadium. In protest, Sahar Khodayari set herself on fire in front of the court. Here's a report from Reza Saya.
It happened when she was a little girl. Aida Karimi became obsessed with football. Her bedroom is a testament.
This is Real Madrid's flag. And this is my favorite Iranian team, Istiklal.
But Iranian authorities have long banned women from attending men's football matches. So the closest this 21-year-old Iranian university student has gotten to a match has been on TV or her simulation video game.
Something that I never thought that could happen, you know. It has always been a dream for me.
Now, Aida's dream is coming true. She's one of 3,500 women who bought tickets for Iran's World Cup qualifier.
Even still now, I can't believe it that I have the tickets. It's really great. It's something that I always wanted all my life.
Aida's parents have dreamed for this too. That's why Mom is going with Aida.
She wanted someone to go with her, someone who loves football too. So we'll be cheering and having a blast together as mother and daughter.
Iran's change in policy comes 1 month after Sahar Khodayari set herself on fire after being denied entry into a football match. When her death made headlines, FIFA demanded Iranian authorities to let women in. Ava Foucherian is going to the match too. She says Khodayari will be in her thoughts.
I will definitely be thinking of her. This is an incident that caused FIFA to take on the issue and tell authorities it needs to be addressed quickly.
A small group of hardliners protested the decision to allow women to attend the match. But nothing is stopping Ida and her fellow female football fans from celebrating a day they've long waited for.
Raza Saya reporting there from the Iranian capital. Well, that's it for us. Do stay tuned. More news coming up very shortly.